Part 34. 10,000 times return. I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 331. Played in the fantasy world for a while. Su Xian looked at everyone. Which one is better to start with? He smiled evilly at the space above him, and then killed Lin Suiying with a sharp knife. Inner demon level. Su Xian was so clear in his heart that he would even cut himself if he became ruthless. The Death Tower spirit panicked. Just now, she seemed to have seen a void demon from the depths of chaos, killing his wife with one knife to prove the truth, without causing any trouble. After staying in the illusion for so long, can you still maintain such a clear state? Knife after knife. Su Xian smiled ferociously and destroyed all the illusions. He raised the bleeding thousand machine sword, pointed it upward, and struck out into the void with one sword. How dare you challenge me? The Death Tower spirit was frightened. Although she was a tower spirit, she was restricted by the rules and could not interfere with the breaker. The inner demons are shattered. The formation leading to the upper level appeared in front of Su Xian, but Xiao Fanwu hadn't appeared yet. He was obviously fascinated by the Heart Demon Pass. Somewhere isolated space. Xiao Mianwan was wrestling with another tower spirit. Next to it, the Death Tower spirit also pressed down on a tower spirit and beat it up. This is the inner demon level of Little Delusion. It only has one wish, and that is to beat up the two tower spirits on Lowland Star with its second sister. Seeing this scene, the Death Tower spirit sprayed hot water again. Is this why my little brother came to find me? However, as a tower spirit in the Blue Star region, there is a competitive relationship with the tower spirits in the Lowland Star region. Whoever does well will naturally be more favored by the master. Maybe the owner will take them to a better place when he comes back from his next trip. In the words of Blue Star people, you will get tired of working in the same place all the time. Final. The powerful inner demon barrier still fell into the hands of a Little Delusion whose Xingxing value was approximately 0. The light flickered. Confusion also appears at the portal of the teleportation array. Teacher, you are indeed faster than me. Madman said excitedly, how about teacher, have you felt the second sister's breath? She should be watching from above. I also called the second sister, but she didn't answer me. Could it be that the second sister sneaked out? Several black lines crossed Su Xian's forehead. Well done, you old man. Can you please speak in a low voice? Your master's performance was completely ruined by your words. We are conspiring. Do you understand what conspiracy is? Besides, this kind of thing is a company secret of your Tata group, can you say it casually? Su Xian made a comparison, and it seemed that compared to Xiao Lu, who was a fool, the Death Tower spirit's IQ was relatively normal. After realizing it after being confused, he covered his mouth and said, Teacher, is it allowed to say such a thing? Su Xian. Death Tower spirit. It wasn't until this moment that the Death Tower spirit knew that the younger brother was teaming up with outsiders to betray his sister. No wonder Su Xian keeps looking up. It turned out to be a fraud. Fortunately, I didn't lower my consciousness to let the other party sense the space here. Otherwise, once Su Xian enters, the consequences will be disastrous. Su Xian was also helpless. He originally wanted to trick the Death Tower spirit out, and then follow the opponent's consciousness and directly rely on space jump to enter the uppermost space. Result. This sixth child not only sold his sister, but also his teacher. Oh, let's go to the next floor. The villain's character collapsed. Su Xian had no choice but to take his disciples to the next level. After breaking through the 40 floors, a lot of pure energy was returned, but filling the small world into the body was a drop in the bucket. There was still a lot left to achieve in the small world. The 40th floor is also a watershed. Except for the few top kings in the world, most of the powerful kings fell below level 40. Every level after that is a hurdle. The Hitomi Ghost King of Sakura Kingdom, ranked 5th in the world, only made it past the 42nd floor and fell on the 43rd floor. And above the 43rd floor. In the entire Blue Star for 500 years, only the Great Demon King has passed the test. King Wuan, King of Thousand Thunders of Eagle Kingdom, and Mad Lion King of Bear Kingdom all fell on the 44th floor. The light flickered. The master and apprentice arrived at the 41st floor. This time there were not many monsters, but 3 figures. As far as Su Xian knows, above the 40th floor, the gatekeepers are all randomly transformed according to the rules of the Tower of Death. The 3 figures have the same face. But it's not the same profession. One is a warrior with a sword, one is a mage, and the other is an archer. The 3 figures all have the cultivation level of the 3rd stage of the original realm of the king. Is it so difficult when I'm only 41? Su Xian was also a little surprised. No wonder, except for those few people, few other crowned kings have passed the 41st level. To pass the 41st level, it means that you must have the strength to fight 3 of the same level. Think so? Su Xian felt even more that the big devil was incredible. To be able to clear the 45th floor, he must have some unique and extraordinary abilities. Whoosh! Whoosh! Behind Su Xian, the flowing star meteor sword and the demonic sword appeared at the same time. Facing 3 strong men in the origin realm, he must be serious, otherwise he may really be eliminated. Of course, it would not be difficult for him to kill these 3. The hard part is retaining the skills to deal with later levels. His semi-god level forbidden spells cannot be used continuously. Once used, they will enter the cooldown period, making it even more difficult to deal with unknown enemies behind them. It's best to kill 3 of them hard. Su Xian also felt a little itchy. After breaking through the king, he has not really fought, and he does not know how strong he is in normal state. Estimation is useless. You can only know after fighting. Whoosh! Facing 3 people, Su Xian took the lead, Qinji Huai, one hand knife, the other hand sword. His speed was so fast that even the afterimage could not be caught. Boom! The sword warrior barely defended Su Xian with the induction of the world. Another archer and mage also launched an attack. At this level, there is almost no pause in the attack and casting. The situation changes rapidly, and those who react a little slower will be killed. Su Xian slashed wildly with both swords. Each time, it was a touch and then separated. As long as there was a slight pause, the attacks of the opponent's mage and archer would hit him crazily. The power of the world has no limit on him. The Death Tower spirit watching the battle on the tower was even more shocked. It was not until Su Xian really started to use his power that she realized how special the power Su Xian used was. The inner world power of other kings is far weaker than the power of the real world. This is not the case with Su Xian. The world power he controls can easily cut through other world powers, just like the natural restraint of the superior over the inferior. The 3rd stage of the king is the origin state, using the life origin condensed in the inner world to sense the world origin of the real world, and then achieve the true unity of man and nature. To become a demigod, you need to return to the original state, integrate the condensed small world back into the body, and then use the world origin to perceive the higher level of chaos origin. But the Death Tower spirit can't understand. She seems to feel the chaotic energy in Su Xian. Although it is not the origin, it is far higher than the world power level of Blue Star. But the other party is obviously only a beginner king. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 332. The swords and sabers intertwined in the tower. 4 figures leaped on the silver light, and the speed of the fight was getting faster and faster. Su Xian had never used the semi-god level forbidden technique, but relied on his own cultivation to fight hard. With the support of mythical equipment and weapons, he was able to deal with the 3 tower guards on the 41st floor. Swish! The sword light flashed, and Su Xian finally found an opportunity to kill the king-making mage condensed by the rules of the Death Tower with one sword. Kill one, and the other 2 would be no match for him. He kept suppressing. Xiao Lu took the opportunity to go up, transformed the tower body, and successfully stole 2 people. Pure energy returned. Su Xian's inner world was filled again. The energy feedback from the 41st floor was obviously much stronger than before, and even Xiao Lu was improved. When Xiao Lu was absent from the Tower of Delusion, he already had the combat power of the Marquis level. However, the cultivation system of the Yuanling clan was too special, and there was no realm threshold, so it could only be measured by the approximate combat power. Now Xiaoliu is also a high-ranking Marquis. If the original spirit blood can be found, Xiaoliu may be able to complete the transformation directly, and his combat power will reach the level of the king. In the space above the tower, the Death Tower spirit was shocked when he saw Su Xian passing the test again. He passed again. This guy is even more perverted than that big devil. He is so terrifying in the first stage of the king, what will happen in the future? Hot steam kept coming out of the Death Tower spirit's head. She was very excited. With a big devil, she had completed the task assigned by her master. If this Su Xian passed again, she might get the same opportunity as her big brother. He doesn't look like he has used his full strength yet. The Death Tower spirit had been watching the battle. Su Xian didn't use any extremely powerful forbidden techniques from beginning to end, and won purely by his own combat power. In the end, he held back and let his younger brother finish him. This guy must have hidden a bigger killer move. She didn't believe that a genius human like Su Xian didn't master a few forbidden techniques. After all, the other veteran kings who were breaking through the tower all had their own methods. At this time, the 44th floor space. Wuan Wang Beisha was killed by the gatekeeper with a sword and reluctantly withdrew from the Death Tower. Failed again. Wuan Wang could no longer remember how many times he had fallen on the 44th floor. When he came out, his eyes subconsciously looked at the stone wall next to him. The golden line of text made his pupils shrink. The first place on the clearance list, the Dragon Kingdom Demon King, cleared the 45th floor and took 2 days, 16 hours, and 31 minutes. This guy actually cleared the 45th floor. Wuan Wang sighed in his heart. Although he and the Demon King were known as the 2 strongest kings of Dragon Kingdom, they were not familiar with each other. The Demon King has always been alone and did not hold any official position of real power. At most, he was just a figurehead. He thought that the gap between him and the Demon King would not be too big, but he did not expect that the other party quietly passed the 45th floor, while he still fell on the 44th floor. The gap is really big. King Wuan smiled bitterly and shook his head, but his mentality was not affected too much. At his level, he had already let go of many things. Sometimes, talent cannot be compensated by hard work. At this moment, the light of the teleportation array flickered again. A tall white man with a beard walked out of the teleportation array. Seeing King Wuan, a smug smile flashed across his face. King Wuan, it seems that I will be one step ahead of you this time. As soon as the voice fell, the ranking on the stone tablet changed again. The second place on the clearance list, King Wan Li of Eagle Country, cleared the 44th level, which took 2 days, 17 hours, and 22 minutes. King Wuan's face changed slightly. He didn't expect that King Wan Li also passed the 44th level. King Wan Li was very happy, but when he turned around and saw that he was still ranked second on the stone tablet, he was stunned. Looking up, a line of golden characters came into view. Great Demon King, 45th floor. Wan Li Wang's good mood disappeared instantly. This guy broke history. After a while, the crazy Lion King of the Bear Country also came out. Like Wuan King, he also stopped at the 44th floor. After that, the top kings such as the Ghost King of the Sakura country and the Saint Logo King of the Romantic country all finished the tower. Without exception, none of them passed the 44th floor. The Great Demon King's record surprised many top kings. As the strong men in the third stage of the king, they always thought that the gap between each other was very small. But the ranking on the stone tablet told them. There are also gaps among the top kings. The Great Demon King is obviously a level higher than all the kings present, and even those who have reached the semi-god realm are not as good as the Great Demon King in the king stage. Dragon Country is really full of talents. The Crazy Lion King exclaimed. Once upon a time, Dragon Country was not the strongest in Blue Star, but under the leadership of generations of the strongest, it finally sat firmly in the position of the strongest country in Blue Star. While the king's side, Su Xian had already reached the 42nd floor in the tower. There were only 2 gatekeepers on the 42nd floor. They looked exactly like Su Xian. They were obviously replicas. The aura they exuded was obviously stronger than that of the gatekeepers on the previous floor. Swish! Su Xian took the initiative to attack, and the two sides instantly fought each other. The speed and strength of the three parties were basically the same, but the opponent had 2 people, while Su Xian had only 1 person, and soon fell into a disadvantage. I see. Su Xian soon saw the clue. The strength of him, who was replicated by the 2 Death Tower rules, was about the same as the highest level he had shown before. It was equivalent to facing 2 selves at the 41st floor at this time. Fortunately, he did not use his full strength at the beginning, otherwise the difficulty of this level would be doubled. Seeing this, Su Xian no longer had any scruples. The myth bracelet guidance of the Morning Star flashed, with the additional skill of insight into weaknesses. Finding the flaws of the 2 replicas, Su Xian instantly turned the situation around, and the rules of the Death Tower could not really replicate the magic sword Apophis and the flowing star meteor knife. The advantage of equipped weapons still exists. The prototype of the Chaos Body is not something that can be simulated by the rules of the Death Tower. In this state, Su Xian quickly eliminated the 2 replicas. The last knife was still made up by Xiao Maiwang, who was watching the battle. As long as the opponent is weak and swallowed into the tower, the opponent basically has no chance of counterattack. Pure energy is returned. A feeling of refreshment. The 42nd floor, passed. Su Xian remembered the ranking list on the stone tablet. The 5th rank Sakura National Ghost King fell on the 43rd floor. Each of the following floors will probably have a big gap in difficulty. He has no confidence that he can pass them all. Especially for the demigod level tower guards, even if there are rules to follow, it is still unimaginably difficult to kill them. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 333. The 43rd floor. I actually stepped into the 43rd floor. The Death Tower spirit watched Su Xian intently, and his interest grew stronger and stronger. The top 10 kings on the stone tablet, starting with the 5th pupil Ghost King, a total of 6 people fell on the 43rd floor. The real test has just begun. Reaching the 43rd floor. When he saw the tower guard, Su Xian was stunned. The tower guard on the 43rd floor turned out to be the phantom of the Mad Lion King, Wuan King, and Wan Li King. The 42nd floor surpassed himself, and the 43rd floor surpassed the predecessors. The rules of the Death Tower are really fun. Su Xian's eyes became solemn. The Mad Lion King, Wuan King, and Wan Li King are all top-level kings, and he is not familiar with their attack methods. If the Death Tower rules are transformed into the highest level of the 3 kings, he will definitely not be able to resist without using all his means. The 43rd floor is so difficult, what about the 44th and 45th floors? From this point of view, the mysterious Demon King's means are far beyond imagination. It is also true that if he does not have a combat power far beyond his peers, how can he break the 500 years of history of Blue Star? In a sense, except for those who cheat like himself, the Demon King's talent can be regarded as the strongest in the history of Blue Star. Of course, it is also possible that this Demon King is also a cheater. As for what kind of cheat, it is not clear. Come on. Su Xian also had the desire to fight. In this case, let go and have fun. He did not believe that the rules of the Death Tower could really transform the real Wuan Wang, Wan Lei Wang and Kuang Shi Wang. There must be some fatal flaws. Boom. In an instant, the entire space inside the tower was filled with thunder. Wan Lei Wang made a move. The world of thunder merged into his body. The all-round bombardment without dead ends instantly rolled down towards Su Xian. Behind Wuan Wang, the phantom of the giant white bone general held a huge sickle in his hand and swept towards him. The Mad Lion King directly transformed into a golden lion, and his violent physical attack was more terrifying than the previous two. The three methods of becoming kings carried a bit of chaos. This proved that they were all just one step away from entering the semi-god realm. Facing the joint attack of the three top replicas of the king, Su Xian fell into a disadvantage almost in an instant, and the space inside the tower was extremely narrow. For the top kings whose battles could affect hundreds of miles, Su Xian's means of space jump almost lost their effect, and he could only fight hard. Attack after attack. Although the guidance of the Morning Star could see through the weaknesses. However, the opponent's moves were too fast, and the weaknesses were not fixed. Each move had weaknesses, but they kept switching. In addition, Su Xian was suppressed by the three people, and he could not defeat the opponent at all. No way. Su Xian was helpless. The rules of the Death Tower did not follow martial ethics, and he had no hope of winning without using the semi-god forbidden technique. After all, the realm gap was there. If they were all in the third stage of becoming kings, Su Xian would still have the confidence to fight three without relying on additional means. Swish. The Mad Lion King rushed over again, and the ferocious and violent lion shadow flashed, and in just an instant, its claws hit Su Xian. The moment the claws hit Su Xian, golden light lit up. The heavenly golden body was activated. Boom. At the same time, the soul blade slashed out. Since it was a simulation, the Mad Lion King, who was good at physical skills, must be weak in the soul. The same is true for insight into weaknesses. Now that Su Xian has reached the King Sealing realm, the power of the soul blade is far beyond what it was before. It suddenly stabbed down and inserted into the Mad Lion King's head. The latter screamed, and the rule body changed, and there was a phenomenon of condensation instability. This is the difference between the real and fake body. After all, the simulation is a simulation. If the real Mad Lion King was here, he would definitely launch the most fierce counterattack in an instant, and this knife would not kill the Mad Lion King. Su Xian took the opportunity to go up, and the magic sword slashed out, with the edge of destruction attached. One sword. The edge of destruction devoured the Mad Lion King. Solved 1. Su Xian's pressure was greatly reduced, and the time of the invincibility of the golden body was over. The phantoms of King Wuan and King Wanli were still attacking, and the entire space in the tower turned into a sea of thunder. What was even more outrageous was the thunder actually merged with General Baigu. It put on a code. Fusion skills? Damn, King Wuan and King Wanli have never been on good terms, and the rules of the Death Tower forced them to become good brothers. Su Xian wanted to curse. Fortunately, the Wild Lion King had been killed. Otherwise, now it would be. General Baigu rode a violent lion and wore a thunder suit to bully him, a junior. The battle continued. 1 against 2, Su Xian was still at a disadvantage. At this time, he had few means available. In addition to the two skills stored in the Qingquan Liuxiang ring, he could only use the Daodi forbidden technique. Among so many forbidden techniques, only the Daodi forbidden technique is not limited by time. As long as it is digested quickly enough, it can be swallowed without limit. I wonder if the power of the rules of the Death Tower can be swallowed and refined. Su Xian suddenly became interested. He found the right time, and when the flowing star meteorite knife led the meteorite down, he broke through the thunder and flashed to the back of the white bone general, and the huge Daodi phantom appeared. Roar! The Daodi phantom roared. It bit down and swallowed the head of the white bone general in one bite. Can it really work? Su Xian was a little surprised. But the taste of swallowing was not pleasant. A strong force of death was running rampant in his body. Space above the tower. The spirit of the Death Tower was stunned. What's going on? Is the power of rules missing? This was the first time she had seen this situation. According to the level, the power of rules of the Death Tower was even higher than the original power of the Blue Star World. Swallowed by Su Xian. The spirit of the Death Tower was extremely shocked. There was actually a human being who could swallow the power of rules of the Death Tower. What kind of monster was this? She seriously suspected that Su Xian was not a human. Is it easy to guard a tower by yourself? Even the group's secrets were robbed. Wouldn't the master kill himself when he comes back? But Su Xian, who was fighting, tasted something new. Compared with ordinary world power, the power of rules of the Death Tower tastes really good. One bite after another is crispy. The strong power of death was running rampant in Su Xian's body, but he was not worried at all. As long as it entered his stomach, it would be his. The lack of the power of rules made the Phantom of King Wuan gradually lose its combat effectiveness. The power of rules of the Phantom of King Wanli was also partially missing. However, Su Xian's gluttonous forbidden technique had also reached its limit, and he could no longer eat. But there was only one King of Thunder left, and he was destined to be unable to stop his pace. After a hard battle, Su Xian finally killed the Phantom of King of Thunder. Successfully stepped into the 44th floor. At the same time, the top kings who failed to break through the barriers in the outside world also launched an attack again. When they passed the 42nd floor and reached the 43rd floor, King Wuan, King of Thunder, and King of Crazy Lion were completely confused. Because the tower guard standing in front of them was Su Xian's phantom. And there were 10,000 times return. I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 334. What's going on? When they saw Su Xian, the top kings scattered in the tower were all confused. Especially King Wuan. Looking at Su Xian's three phantoms, he suddenly felt a headache. He knew Su Xian much better than other kings. He knew how terrifying this guy's talent was, and he had many tricks, which were very strange. This kid has already passed the 43rd floor. King Wuan knew the rules of the Death Tower. Only by passing the 43rd floor can you be recognized by the rules of the Death Tower and transform into the tower guardian of that floor. At this point, no one in the entire Blue Star high level can figure out Su Xian's strength. Since the incident with Xyli, the semi-god Qiu Qing was killed, and the king of the Holy Legion was seriously injured, no one dared to provoke Su Xian anymore. No matter whether Su Xian was protected by a super strong man beyond his cognition, or Su Xian himself had that kind of strength. Anyway, the official attitude towards Su Xian now is to let him grow and cooperate with him as much as possible when he needs it. If the Second War had not started too suddenly, the Supreme Court of the Blue Star Alliance would have invited Su Xian and Lin Suiying to participate and given them a seat. I wonder if Su Xian has made it through the 44th floor. King Wuan thought. With his strength, he couldn't make it through the 44th floor now. He didn't know whether Su Xian could make it through. It's impossible that the second big devil will appear so soon, right? He stopped thinking about it. The phantom of the white bone general appeared behind him. For some reason, King Wuan was a little excited, witnessing the continuous growth of a junior until the other party stood at the same height as himself. He also wanted to experience Su Xian's methods, even if it was just an illusion. Not only King Wuan, but also the Wanli King of Eagle Country, the Crazy Lion King of Bear Country and the Tongui King of Sakura Country, the three top kings who had made it to the 43rd floor were also fighting against Su Xian's illusion. They were also very curious about this Qinji king who was known as the shocking king of the ancient times. At the same time, Su Xian had already arrived at the 44th floor. The 44th floor was a vast grassland. Standing on the grassland, Su Xian suddenly felt insignificant. The internal structure of the Death Tower was truly amazing, and it could create such a vast space. In the distance, there was a huge nest. Su Xian looked there. In the nest, there was a sleeping giant dragon. Its body was so large that it occupied dozens of miles of the grassland. Its whole body was burning with flames, and its fiery red scales were leaping with violent and surging superpower. At a glance from afar, Su Xian actually felt terrified. Another dragon. Su Xian didn't know how many dragons he had killed. But all the dragons he had killed before, including the evil dragon of the infinite altar and the ice dragon of the absolute frozen soil, were far less oppressive than the dragon he had killed before. The most important thing was that there were no real creatures among the gatekeepers of the Death Tower, they were all projections. How terrifying would the true body of this dragon be? The dragon sensed Su Xian's arrival, and its eyes burning with flame slowly opened. The terrifying power spread in an instant, and the whole grassland was shaking. Just a glance was so strong. That kind of power is definitely not comparable to the king level. A question mark slowly appeared above Su Xian's head. He seriously suspected that the Death Tower was not worth playing with and deliberately targeted him. Is this thing really something that people can get through? He didn't believe that the big devil's cheat was bigger than his own. Roar! The dragon roared. The flaming wings spread out, covering the sky and the sun, and the shadow instantly enveloped the place where Su Xian stood. How to play this? Su Xian felt that even if he tried his best, it would be difficult to kill this giant dragon phantom. The feeling that the dragon gave him was even stronger than all the demigods he had met before. Roar! A breath of majestic flame dragon breath spewed towards Su Xian. Su Xian didn't dare to be negligent. At this moment, he had no room for reservation. The ring sounded like a spring, the necklace was filled with mist, and the bracelet's guidance of the morning star flashed at the same time. The effect of the trance set was activated. The state of divine protection was possessed. Only when the attack was attached to the power of God, Su Xian could block this breath of dragon, and the two swords slashed wildly, and the sword energy rushed out like the sea. The vast sword energy collided with the majestic dragon breath. At that moment, the vast grassland fell into a distorted state. The world seemed to be divided into two halves. One half was a violent dance of flames, and the other half was a destructive purple air and blood light intertwined. Not far away, the melon-eating disciple Xiao Mai Wang was shattered by the aftermath and entered the special protection space. Little brother. Soon, a plump figure fell beside him. Second sister. The moment he saw the plump figure, Xiao Lu exclaimed, and got into the other's arms with grievance, and hot water continued to spray on his head. The person who came was the Death Tower spirit. The plump tower spirit turned red, transformed into a steam girl, and sprayed with the younger brother. The brother and sister were excited for a long time. After a long time, the Death Tower spirit regained its composure and said seriously, "Little brother, you betrayed me. How can you tell the group's secrets to outsiders casually? The master said that our existence cannot be revealed to the humans of Blue Star casually." Mi Wang replied seriously, "But, The teacher is not an outsider. He is very good to me. If it weren't for the teacher, I can't transform now. The Death Tower spirit wanted to refute. There was a not very smart look on Sister Yu's face. It seems that he can't find any reason to refute. Su Xian is indeed very good to his younger brother. Brother, your teacher is probably not human. For a long time, the Death Tower spirit held back a sentence. What's the meaning? I don't quite understand it. Look. The Death Tower spirit waved his hand, and a water mirror appeared in front of him. The battle between Su Xian and the giant dragon was reflected in the mirror. The Death Tower spirit said solemnly, Brother, do you see anything? Fan Wu nodded solemnly, I can see it. The teacher is really handsome when he fights. He is indeed so handsome that he doesn't look like a human being. The Death Tower spirit instantly transformed into a violent steam girl. Another spurt. That's not what I meant. The Death Tower spirit corrected, what I mean is that your teacher's performance has exceeded the rules of the Death Tower. This dragon should not appear in the level. Because its strength has exceeded that of the tower defenders on the 45th floor. That's so unfair to the teacher. Confused and aggrieved, I demand a rematch. A rematch. The Death Tower spirit rolled his eyes at him. This is not a matter of restarting the level, but Su Xian caused a loophole in the rules of the Death Tower. What should I do? He was confused. I don't know either. The Death Tower spirit was even more puzzled. She had been guarding here for 500 years, and nothing like this happened even when the big devil cleared the level. Is it because Su Xian swallowed part of the power of the rules of the Tower of Death? Second sister, if the teacher passes this level, does that mean he has passed the level? Mai Wu asked. Maybe, but he can't get through. The Death Tower spirit knew how powerful this giant dragon was, and Su Xian could never be his opponent. As for how to judge the subsequent rules, she didn't know. All we can do is wait quietly for the results. 10,000 times return. I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 335. On the vast grassland, Su Xian and the dragon continued to fight. In the state of divine blessing, he could barely compete with the dragon, but once the state of divine blessing ended, he was no match for the dragon. At this moment, he cursed in his heart. The Death Tower is not worth playing. The duel between Su Xian and the dragon shattered the illusory plane. 5 minutes passed quickly. The state of divine blessing disappeared. Without the blessing of that trace of divine power, Su Xian fell into a disadvantage in a few moves. He didn't even want to use other skills. When the gap was too big, it was meaningless. Just when he thought that this level should end like this, the dragon in front suddenly stopped attacking. It roared to the sky. Bang! All the phantoms in the entire tower space were instantly blown to pieces. Su Xian only felt that he fell into a void space. The dragon gradually shrank in the roar, and finally turned into a burly humanoid figure. The burly figure was surrounded by fire. Su Xian looked over, his vision blurred, and he couldn't see the scene clearly. For a moment, he couldn't understand what the Death Tower meant. The firelight not far away became brighter, and the figure of the giant dragon gradually disappeared in the firelight. At the same time, the power of the rules of the Death Tower gathered and formed a vast plain again. But this time, there was no longer the giant dragon that covered the sky. In front of him, there was only a wisp of flame suspended in the air. Su Xian walked over. The flame seemed weak, but it exuded an amazing breath. Is this a reward for this level? Su Xian just felt a little puzzled. It was so grand, and it was gone just like that. With the idea that it would be a pity to throw away something that he didn't want, Su Xian prepared to put the wisp of flame into the space ring. The silver light flickered, and the power of space surged. But the wisp of flame was still suspended there. Can't collect it? Su Xian was stunned. Even the mythical ring Ching Quan Lai Xiang couldn't collect this thing into the space? What the hell is this? He could feel that there was a superpower fluctuation compressed to the extreme in the leaping flames, and this power fluctuation even surpassed the power of the rules of the Death Tower. Facing such a terrifying and unknown power, Su Xian was not panicked at all, but was excited. If this thing is given to disciples, wouldn't it take off? Can't the mythical quality ring be collected? Then, let the system come. With the thought, the flame was instantly collected into the system space. The moment the flame disappeared, the teleportation array appeared at Su Xian's feet. The battle with the dragon left Su Xian with little strength. If the next level was still such a powerful gatekeeper, he would be powerless. Step into the teleportation array. The mysterious power of space wrapped around his body. After a dizzy spell, his vision was restored, and Su Xian only saw two people standing in front of him, one big and one small. Teacher. Delusion. Su Xian. The three of them were stunned for a moment. Su Xian instantly understood that he was teleported to the hidden space on the tower. Directly skip the 45th floor? Then the beautiful queen spraying hot water in front of you should be my Wang's second sister, the tower spirit of the Death Tower, right? She is worthy of being a member of the original spirit clan. This unique way of expressing emotions is eye-opening. Teacher, this is my second sister, the Death Tower spirit, Mai Wang introduced enthusiastically. Hello. Su Xian smiled and greeted. Hello. The Death Tower spirit quickly returned to normal and became aloof. But Su Xian already knew that none of the hot water spraying clan was normal, and they could be broken with a little bit of play. Su Xian, according to the rules set by the master, you have passed the level. The Death Tower spirit said, although I don't know why this happened, your landing here represents your success. Su Xian was also confused. Didn't they say there are 45 floors? You belong to a special case. The Death Tower spirit smiled and said, from the 43rd floor, you entered another space. Maybe it was a hidden level left by the master, and you triggered it. Then can I get the clearance reward? Su Xian smiled. He didn't care how he passed the level. He only cares about rewards. The rewards for passing the Death Tower are extremely generous. The rewards for passing the Delusion Tower are only an ordinary energy baptism and some delusion stones. But as long as you pass the Death Tower, you can get the Death Tower's exclusive equipment and a pure energy baptism. Of course. The Death Tower spirit waved his hand, and another space channel appeared. Enter the channel. The three of them came to a strange and bizarre space, where colorful light balls were suspended. The Death Tower spirit pointed to the light ball on the left. According to the rules set by the master, there are all exclusive equipment for the Death Tower, you can choose any one. She looked to the left again. Here are all kinds of rare treasures from the chaotic universe, equipment and treasures, you can only choose one. And the Death Tower spirit paused and looked up at the top of the space. Su Xian and Delusion also looked over. At the top of the space, there was also a huge golden light ball suspended. What is this? Su Xian could feel that the things in the golden light ball were not simple. The complete inheritance of the gods, the Death Tower spirit replied. The complete inheritance of the gods. Su Xian was also shocked. Is the owner behind the Tower of Death so arrogant? He even gave away the complete inheritance of the gods. Is this thing authentic? The complete inheritance of the gods does not mean that you will become a god if you get it. On the contrary, if you fail to accept the inheritance, you may die on the spot, or you may not be able to advance for the rest of your life, and you will be completely cut off, the Death Tower spirit explained. Are there any other downsides? This result was indeed difficult to accept for Su Xian. Because he is sure that he can become a god, but it is just a matter of time. But for those powerful people who have no hope of reaching the divine realm in their lifetime, this inheritance is a life-saving straw. Even if the risk is 10 or 100 times greater, there are still people who are willing. There is one more condition. The Death Tower spirit said, after taking this inheritance, you must sign a contract left by the master. In the future, you must unconditionally help the master complete one thing before the contract can be terminated. I'm curious, has he taken the big devil? Su Xian asked. Take it? The Death Tower spirit thought of the great demon king, who was also a strange man. He made his choice without any hesitation, and he even said that his achievements would be increased by 1. Su Xian probably understood. That guy probably regards this divine inheritance as the process of unlocking game achievements. So, how do you choose? The Death Tower spirit looked at him. Su Xian had an idea in his mind. He didn't choose, but turned to look at Xiao Fan. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 336. Xiao Lu, you choose. Su Xian waved his hand, take whichever you want. You want me to choose? The Death Tower spirit was stunned. Have you thought it through? Even if you pass the level again, there may not be such rewards anymore. As a teacher, it is normal to give your disciples some benefits, right? Su Xian smiled. Teacher, is it really okay? Mai Wang was very excited. Choose, Su Xian nodded. I want. Mai Wang was fascinated by the dazzling array of light balls, and his choice difficulty broke out on the spot. One of these light balls was extremely attractive to it, and it couldn't help wanting to pounce on it and swallow it in one gulp. But it also wanted the huge golden light ball floating at the top. That was the complete inheritance of the gods. Due to the special nature of the race, the Yuanling clan was born with a powerful artifact. It was more difficult for them to become gods than ordinary life. The inheritance of the gods can greatly reduce this difficulty. Even if this method will lower the upper limit, it can also raise the lower limit. Which one should I choose? Mai Wang was confused. Second sister, why don't you help me choose one? The Death Tower spirit was only envious at this time, and even wanted to ask Su Xian if he would still accept disciples. I don't need to be a sister, with such a good teacher, it's okay to follow me and call me senior brother. Little brother, why don't you choose the inheritance of the gods? The Death Tower spirit gave a suggestion. Although the ancestral blood is rare, there will be a chance to find it in the future. The inheritance of the gods may not exist after this opportunity. It is too difficult for the original spirit clan to become gods on their own. Is it okay, teacher? Mai Wang looked at Su Xian. Of course. Su Xian smiled. Since he said that the disciple should choose, he would naturally not interfere. And he was also looking forward to what he could get back by giving a complete inheritance of the gods. As for the contract, Xiaolai was born attached to the Tower of Delusion, and it was not a big deal to sign a contract with the master behind the Twin Towers. Then choose the inheritance of the gods. Mai Wang made a decision. The Death Tower spirit nodded, and then a faint light flashed on its body, and the power of the rules of the Death Tower gathered. As a tower spirit, she did not have the power to take these treasures privately. Only when the challenger completed the level set by the master, these treasures would appear, and the treasures could be taken out by binding the breath according to the challenger's choice. The huge golden ball on the top fell down. Finally, it turned into a light golden crystal and fell into Mai Wang's hand. Su Xian looked at the Death Tower spirit and asked again, after this time, if we pass the level again, will we not get such a reward? This is the rule set by the master. The Death Tower spirit said, but your situation is very special. Originally, even if you pass the 45th floor, you can't get this reward. Your arrival broke the rules of the Death Tower, perhaps because you swallowed the power of the Death Tower's rules, or perhaps because of other reasons. But if you challenge again, there may be a surprise. Then I'll try. Su Xian didn't care much. It would be better if there was one, but it would be fine if there wasn't. Compared with the original spirit ancestral blood, the role of the inheritance of the gods is indeed greater, and the harvest this time has exceeded expectations. And there is also the wisp of flame in the system space, which is also an extremely precious treasure. There is also a reward for a pure energy baptism. The Death Tower spirit waved and took the two to another space. The energy waterfall rushed down. Below the waterfall are small pools of water, where the purest energy of heaven and earth gathered. Su Xian could feel the existence of a trace of original power in the pool. And it is a power different from the original power of the Blue Star world. The rewards of the Death Tower are indeed far greater than those of the Delusion Tower. Xiao Lu, go, and I will give you the energy pool of my master. Su Xian did not think of accepting the baptism. His chaotic body prototype did not need this kind of baptism, so it would be better for Xiao Lu to absorb more. The Death Tower spirit secretly envied her. Su Xian glanced at her, looking at the other party's red skin and the hot water that kept gushing out of her body. He knew that this tower spirit had something to say. At this time, Xiao Lu had stripped naked and jumped into the energy pool. The life of the Yuanling people is very ritualistic. They know how to follow the local customs. They are not wearing any clothes, but they still have to take off their clothes to take a bath. That, Su Xian, I have something to tell you. The Death Tower spirit looked at Su Xian and became hesitant when speaking. What do you want to say? Su Xian was more and more confused. The Yuanling people are too shy. They started to spray without even touching each other. I want. The Death Tower spirit couldn't say it. It's too embarrassing to say that kind of thing. My younger brother is watching next to me. If my younger brother knew that I, as a sister, was actually that kind of spirit, I would be ashamed. But she really wanted to. No matter. The Death Tower spirit mustered up the courage. Su, Mr. Su, I want to be your disciple. As soon as the voice fell, hot water flooded. Too shameful. As a sister, she actually wanted to worship my younger brother's teacher as her teacher. This kind of thing is really hard to say, but fortunately she finally said it. Su Xian. That's it? Before I even started to lie, the Death Tower spirit came up to me. Why do you want to be my disciple? Because. The Death Tower spirit said, because you are very good to me. I have been on Blue Star for 500 years and have never seen anyone as selfless as you. Others are fighting for opportunities, but you can calmly give them to your disciples. I think it will be very happy to follow such a teacher. Please accept me as your disciple. After saying that, tears from the corners of the Death Tower spirit's eyes turned into two springs and poured out directly. Su Xian wanted to say, you misunderstood. But there can be more misunderstandings like this. The eye of the Divine Mentor is opened. Root bone value : comprehension value : mind value, 20. Compatibility with the art of law of heaven and earth 73%. Existing constitution or bloodline, none. Suitable constitution or bloodline, original spirit ancestor blood. The data template of the Death Tower spirit is similar to that of the Delusion, with a higher mind value, but still within the range of being easily abducted and sold. However, the Death Tower spirit and Feishan Xiangdi are not very compatible. It is too reluctant to accept him as a disciple. Forget about accepting you as a disciple. Su Xian refused. The Death Tower spirit lowered his head in disappointment. Su Xian changed the subject and said, however, we can cooperate. If I can help you in the future, I will try my best to help you. How about it? How to cooperate? The Death Tower spirit paused and asked excitedly. You and Xiaoliu go together to lure out the two tower spirits from Lulan Star. I want to see if they are also so good, easy to talk to. Do you know the relationship between me and the Lulan Star Tower spirit? We are from the same group. Yes, in the words of your Blue Star, my younger brother and I are their colleagues, and we have the same big brother. Colleague. Su Xian smiled, aren't colleagues smiling on the surface and stabbing in the back? The Death Tower spirit tilted his head. It seems. There is some truth in what he said. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, tabula below article feed, placement, below article feed, target. Type, mix. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 337. After a series of ideological work, Su Xian and the Death Tower spirit finally reached a cooperative relationship. At the same time, the system prompt sounded. Ding, your disciple Su Maiwang has completed a pure energy baptism and absorbed a trace of the power of the origin of death. Congratulations on your 6,000 times critical strike return, your Chaos Body prototype has evolved. Chaos Body prototype evolution degree, 52%. Congratulations on your Chaos Body prototype having completed more than half of its evolution, your physical functions and mental comprehension have been enhanced in all directions without dead ends. During this evolution, you have obtained the active skill Blood Dropping Clone. Blood Dropping Clone, each drop of your blood can be transformed into a clone, which will completely inherit your aura and have the level of your full strength attack in normal state. After using full strength attack, the clone will automatically dissipate. Note, your clone does not have the ability to think independently and requires your mental control. The more blood dropping clones you have, the more mental power you consume. Note, the energy absorbed by the clone when it kills the enemy will automatically return to itself when the clone dissipates. Finally, the Chaos Body has evolved more than half. A special skill is activated again. Su Xian only felt the blood in his body rolling and numb, which was the call for the evolution of his body. The Chaos Body has completed half of its evolution, which is stronger than the 10% effect of each evolution before. He feels that his own strength has increased a lot. And this skill of dripping blood clone is very useful to him. Now that the war is imminent, Luo Langxing still has the advantage of numbers. Even if he is strong, he cannot control the entire battlefield between the two worlds. The skill of the dripping blood clone can greatly enhance his group combat ability. The level of a full strength attack in normal state. Su Xian estimated that his full strength attack in normal state would be no problem to kill Feng Ho, and it is also possible to seriously injure Feng Wang in an unexpected situation. It is already a very strong skill for a dripping blood clone to achieve this. After all, the clone does not carry any equipment, and cannot use other forbidden techniques to increase the power. It only relies on pure power to launch attacks. Teacher, second sister. While thinking, Mai Wang had completed the baptism of pure energy and came ashore. After the baptism, Xiaoliu seemed to have grown a little taller, but he still looked like a child. Teacher, have you discussed it with the second sister? Yes. Su Xian nodded. The Death Tower spirit smiled and said, don't worry, little brother, sister will definitely avenge you. I have long been fed up with those two people on Luo Langxing. Why are you pretending to be an old employee? Sister is so nice. Mai Wang turned around happily. But the war will not start for more than 10 days. Before that, you can try to accept the inheritance of the gods first. War is cruel. At that time, Su Xian may not be able to take care of others. Although Xiaoliu is extremely special, he still has the risk of falling when he encounters the top king. If he can accept the inheritance of the gods before going to the battlefield, it will also be beneficial for Xiaoliu. After all, the real experience is still on the battlefield. Accept the inheritance of the gods. Xiaoliu was excited and nervous. The so-called inheritance of the gods is to map the path of the gods in the memory of the inheritor. The inheritor can clearly feel all the details of the road that the god has walked. It will not improve the realm power in any way, and you still have to rely on yourself to become a god. But walking on the road that has been led by predecessors is naturally much easier than groping alone. The disadvantage of doing so is the road you have walked will always affect your subconscious. If you get lost on this road, you will never reach the end, and you will never return to the road you have explored by yourself. And once you get used to the road led by others, when you reach the end of this road, you find that there is a better scenery in the distance, and you are too lazy to explore. Unless someone leads the way for you. This is the reason why Su Xian did not choose the inheritance of gods, but it is perfect for the original spirit clan, which has limited cognition and extremely special life forms. You can comprehend it in the tower. Su Xian instructed, Master, I will go out first, and then try to break through it alone to see if I can find the 45th floor correctly. Of course, the most important thing is to try to get the blood of the original spirit and let the prototype of the chaotic body evolve a little more. Teacher, don't worry. Mai Wang said seriously, I will be obedient and not move around inside my second sister. The Death Tower spirit didn't say anything. She now expects Su Xian to pull the master. If Su Xian has any request, as long as it does not violate the master's rules, she will cooperate well. Su Xian left. The light flashed and sent him to the entrance of the Death Tower. At this time, a lot of top kings stood there, their faces darker than each other. Especially the King of Thunder, whose white face was almost as black as charcoal. Here he comes out, Su Xian comes out. Someone in the crowd shouted. A large group of kings rushed over, looking like they were going to fight. Su Xian, you are here. King Wuan was the first to rush to Su Xian. What's going on? Which level have you reached? King Wuan looked at the stone tablet next to him. The other top kings also looked over. The ranking has not changed. Hey! That's not right. They were beaten up and thrown down by 3 Su Xian on the 43rd floor, which means Su Xian passed the test, so how could there be no ranking? What happened to you? Su Xian still didn't understand what happened. Why did they all seem to be angry? It seems that he didn't offend so many kings, right? Answer me first, which floor did you reach? Wu and Wang asked. The other top kings also stared with wide eyes. If you have to count. Su Xian thought for a moment, it should be the 43.5 floors, and then some accidents happened. It was indeed an accident. If the Tyrannosaurus Rex that covered the sky and the sun still existed, he would definitely not be able to pass the 44th floor. Hearing this answer, several kings breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out that Su Xian also fell on the 44th floor, which made them feel much better. But they reacted quickly. No. Wan Liuwang said with a dark face, after passing the 43rd floor, your ranking should be on the stone tablet. Su Xian spread his hands, I took my disciples with me to pass it. It was a 2-player mode, which is not counted in the stone tablet ranking. Poof. The kings finally couldn't help it. 2-player mode. That is to say, Su Xian dragged a burden and achieved a higher achievement than them in the more difficult 2-player mode. It seems, even more unacceptable. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 338. The King of Thousand Machines is well deserved. After hearing the answer he didn't want, King Wanlei gritted his teeth and praised, turned around and left. Dragon Kingdom is getting stronger and stronger. The crazy Lion King also sighed and lost the mood to break into the tower again. Other top kings also left one after another. Only King Wuan was left standing there. What's going on? Su Xian was confused. Don't you know? King Wuan said, because you have broken through the 43rd floor, the power of the rules of the Tower of Death has made your phantom body become the gatekeeper. Or 3 at a time. Who asked you to master so many weird skills? It's okay now, everyone doesn't have to play anymore. So everyone was beaten and thrown out by you. King Wuan was both happy and depressed at the same time. He was beaten violently by a junior's phantom body, and he really didn't have the face to do so. It seemed that there was no hope of getting through the 45th floor before entering the demigod realm. It's better to break through to the demigod realm as soon as possible. Although I feel like I will be overtaken by this kid sooner or later, my dignity as a senior can be preserved for a while. I didn't expect the Tower of Death to be so good at playing. Su Xian almost laughed out loud. Well. King Wuan sighed, although the waves behind push the waves ahead, your wave behind is too strong. I'd better retire early and leave the burden of protecting the human race to you in the future. Don't. Su Xian waved his hand, I'm teaching a disciple, and I'm going to do it myself. Why do you think I'm working so hard? King Wuan was stunned, for what? Of course it's for early retirement. Su Xian smiled and said, don't do to others what you don't want others to do to you. You want to take care of yourself in old age, and I want to do that even more. King Wuan's face darkened and he cursed, you are such an old person. You are thinking about salted fish at such a young age. Why don't you let us old guys live? Sir, times have changed. Su Xianzhen was awe-inspiring. In today's society, young people are more open-minded than the elderly. Who doesn't want to lie down and enjoy happiness? But don't worry, before you can retire, foreign enemies still have to be wiped out. Otherwise, I will be thought about every day, and I won't be able to sleep peacefully. You still have a sense of responsibility. King Wuan quickly changed the subject. By the way, I heard that King Shuiyu was injured and lost his cultivation foundation. He has. It's been cured. Su Xian smiled and said, my mother-in-law is so proud. If she is not allowed to practice, she will get sick. As he said that, King Wuan's eyes suddenly became solemn. The 4 forbidden areas have been breached. The appearance of the senior divine fox should be related to you, right? Now that things have happened, Su Xian has nothing to hide. Many people at the top level had guessed it. King Wuan sighed, it seems that there is a long way to go to break the situation. Su Suandeo, from a certain perspective, Lady Luck is on Blue Star's side, isn't she? 2. King Wuan no longer worries about these. The top priority is how to deal with the next war between the two worlds. In response to the upcoming war, the Blue Star Alliance has deployed many means. But no one can guarantee that those means can stop the menacing Lowland Star Army. Su Xian, what do you think about the next war between the two worlds? King Wuan hoped that Su Xian could come up with some ideas. Without the strong demigods taking action, Su Xian is now considered to be at the peak of his combat power and can influence the situation of the battle. Just kill him and that's it? Su Xian smiled and said, when the time comes, I will roam the battlefield with a few disciples to provide support. In Su Xian's eyes, this frightening war between the two worlds is just a training ground for the disciples. Demigod, he is invincible. Even if he faced an existence of the level of the Great Demon King, he was confident that he would be invincible. King Wuan said, now we have found out clearly that there are a total of 23 high-level Forgotten Ones in Lowland Star, and there are more than 20,000 ordinary Forgotten Ones. Coupled with the strength of the feudal lords and kings of Lowland Star, our military strength is completely at a disadvantage. Blue Star has 17 lines of defense, none of which can be broken, and there can be no mistakes in the game with the opponent. Su Xian nodded, the Forgotten One is indeed a trouble. The battlefield between the two realms is too large. It is also impossible for him to support everywhere instantly. But it's not that there are no means to deal with the forgotten. Ching Ching has been immersed in the laboratory for several months, and is probably studying the formula of sorrow of the doll without eating or sleeping. As long as the doll's sorrow is researched, it can greatly offset the offensive pressure brought by ordinary forgotten ones. King Wuan, I have something I would like to ask the officials to cooperate with. Su Xian has another way to deal with the forgotten. That is the forbidden technique wood reincarnation, which is also a super forbidden technique that can turn the tide of the battle. With his current strength, there is no problem in resurrecting ordinary kings and princes, and there is no need to consume his own life force. That's what you say. King Wuan smiled and said, with your current status, if you have any action needs, the official will definitely cooperate fully. Although Su Xian tortured and killed an official demigod before, which caused dissatisfaction among some people in the Supreme Court. But the officials could only endure their dissatisfaction, and now they had to apologize to Su Xian. I need a large amount of blood tissue from powerful people. Su Xian put forward conditions. The blood tissue of a titled strong man. King Wuan thought of something in an instant and said in horror, are you going to use that forbidden technique to resurrect those titled strong men who have died? Yes, Su Xian replied, for now, this is the best way to make up for the gap in combat power. Will it hurt you? King Wuan was not very reassured. If he wanted to damage Su Xian's foundation in order to resurrect a large number of dead strongmen, he would rather not do it. No. Su Xian laughed, I won't do such a stupid thing as destroying my foundation. King Wuan breathed a sigh of relief, that's good, then I will apply to the Supreme Court as soon as I go back, and strive to mobilize the blood tissues of all the dead titled strongmen within 5 days. Well, let someone send it to Shuiyu Palace at that time. Su Xian turned his head and looked at the Tower of Death, while there is plenty of time, I want to break into the Tower of Death again. You want to break in again? King Wuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry, you don't give us old guys any face. Other old guys may not have face, but you, King Wuan, will definitely have it. Su Xian smiled, when I become a super boss in the future, won't others have to compliment you and say that you are really good at judging people? Ha ha ha. King Wuan laughed, you are right. Although I made a mistake the first time, I later strongly supported you and King Shuiyu. It's not wrong to say that I am very good at judging people. Okay, since you still have something to do, I won't disturb you. See you in Dingai King City. Goodbye. Su Xian waved his hand, watched King Wuan leave, and turned to enter the Tower of Death. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 339. Enter the Tower of Death again. Su Xian didn't waste any time on the previous levels. 1 floor, 2 floors, 3 floors. 30 floors. 35 floors. 40 floors. 41 floors. 42 floors. In the blink of an eye, Su Xian had reached the 43rd floor. This time the opponents are still King Wuan, King 10,000 Thunders and King Crazy Lion. But Su Xian at this time is not the Su Xian of yesterday. The prototype of the Chaos body has evolved more than halfway, which not only brings the active skill of Blood Clone, but also enhances his physical fitness and mental strength in all aspects. This time, Su Xian didn't need any forbidden skills to fight back and forth with the phantom bodies of the 3 top kings. From time to time, I take a bite of the power of the rules of the Tower of Death, and I feel satisfied after eating it. A hard fight. Su Xian successfully solved the phantom bodies of the 3 top kings without using forbidden techniques. The teleportation array appears. Su Xian stepped into the teleportation array, hoping that the Tyrannosaurus King would not appear again this time, otherwise it would be difficult for him to win with the Shen Bless on cooldown. Restore the light. This time, the sight is no longer a vast plain. The giant dragon was nowhere to be seen. There are only stairs one by one in front, and there are countless of them, leading to the nothingness on the tower. Su Xian looked up. It can be vaguely seen that there seems to be a tower guard on the stairs, and there is more than one. Every 100 steps, there is a tower guard. Is this the real 44th floor? Although the atmosphere on the 44th floor was heavy, it was nothing compared to the oppressive feeling given by the Tyrannosaurus King. Having experienced more terrible things, Su Xian only felt relaxed at this moment. He stepped onto the stairs. Boom! In an instant, an invisible pressure fell on Su Xian's body. Not only does it oppress the physical body, it also has a repressive effect on the spirit. One more level. Boom! More pressure falls. Another level up. Another heavy pressure. After walking up a few stairs, Su Xian roughly understood the rules. If he continued like this, he would feel more pressure every time he passed the stairs. Looking at the stairs towering into nothingness, Su Xian finally felt the difficulty. He adjusted his condition and continued to move forward. Soon, he came to the 100th floor of the stairs, where sat a skeleton soldier wearing iron armor, with soul fire beating in his eyes. Su Xian frowned. He felt the breath of life from the skeleton soldiers. Isn't it a phantom? Is it an undead creature? Su Xian was shocked. This was the first time he encountered a real creature in the Tower of Death. Welcome to the challenger from Blue Star. The skeleton creature's eyes were filled with soul fire. Beat me, and you can go to the next level. Are you an undead creature? Su Xian couldn't help but ask. Yes. The armored skeleton replied. The owner of the Tower of Death left you here, Su Xian asked. We are all followers of the Master. The voice of the armored skeleton was actually full of emotions. All those who have had their souls abandoned during their lifetime can be saved by their master. Su Xian wanted to ask again. The armored skeleton interrupted him, let's do it. Good. In this case, Su Xian stopped asking, pulled out the 1000 machine sword, and slashed. The battle is over. Step onto the next level of stairs. On the 100th floor, the skeleton creature appeared again, and it was still the same one. The previous slash did not cut off the skeleton's life source, and it was saved by the rules of the Tower of Death. Su Xian only looked back and moved on. 200 floors. 300 floors. 400 floors. Soon Su Xian arrived at the 499th floor. Looking further down, there is already a dark abyss, and nothing can be seen. At this time, the pressure on my body has become very heavy. My head is also dizzy. The double pressure of body and soul made Su Xian feel exhausted. The gatekeeper on the 500th floor is still an undead creature. He rides a warhorse and wears silver-white armor. He is obviously a skeleton, but it gives people a sacred feeling. He must have been a brave and capable general during his lifetime. Bring it on. The silver-white skeleton made of vicissitudes of sound. Su Xian holds the knife. The two of them stood on the narrow stairs, with no room to hide. The swords, lights, and gun shadows kept flashing. As long as there was any mistake, the level would be over. What a strong defense! Su Xian was secretly shocked. The silver-white skeleton's attack power is not strong, but its defense is extremely tight and watertight, as if there is a visible circle around it. No attack can penetrate it. Su Xian didn't want to delay it too long. The effect of Morning Star's guidance to insight into weaknesses was immediately activated. Soon he found the silver skeleton's flaw and defeated it. Go up one more level. Finally, I felt like I could see the light through the clouds. At the end of the stairs, there is a door. There was a shadow in front of the door with its back to him. The shadow looked extremely blurry, as if it were a vicissitudes of life old man, with grey hair and an astonishingly strong aura. He carried a sword pouch on his back. There are countless swords stuck on it, and there are even many other weapons. But the most eye-catching thing is the purple sword in his hand. The purple sword exudes an evil aura and is very similar to the magic sword. In other words, this purple sword is also a magic sword. It's just that this magic sword has a master, and it doesn't have an inexplicable violent aura like Apophy's. Is it another projection of a mysterious strong man? Su Xian stepped onto the stairs again and headed towards the heavenly gate. Step by step. When he stepped onto the last step, the pressure disappeared, replaced by the vast and infinite sword intent. Wow! Inside the magic sword, Apophy's shouted excitedly, "Sword God!" This is simply the aura of the sword god, and he seems to have a magic sword in his hand. Apophy's enviously said, "Big liar, can you be as strong as him in the future?" "I will be stronger than him." Su Xian smiled, and the breath of chaos and sword intent also burst out from his body. The collision between the sword intents turned the layers of stairs into nothingness. One sword. The shadow shouted two words. He clenched the magic sword in his hand, gathered his strength, and made a gesture of drawing the sword. Su Xian used both hands to wield a sword and a knife. The right hand also held a magic sword, and the left hand held a flowing star blade. The thousand machine umbrella also turned into a spear, and the power of blood and chi was agitated, ready to go. Swish! In an instant, the magic sword in the shadow's hand slashed out, slashing out a full moon arc, and the power of the rules of the Death Tower was torn apart by this sword. The whole tower was shaking. At the same time, Su Xian slashed with both swords and blood spears, and turned into a stream of light and rushed forward. Rumble! The rules of the Death Tower continued to collapse and reorganize. At this moment, Su Xian only felt that he was a small boat in the vast ocean, and the surging sword intent continued to wash his body and soul. It seemed that he just drew the sword and slashed. But it slashed out countless swords. This sword amazed Su Xian and also taught him a lot. In his mind, the sword moves evolved in thousands of ways. Until a certain move overlapped with Su Xian's action, he subconsciously slashed again. The magic sword collided with the magic sword. The sword intent dissipated. The gate of heaven opened. The shadow also disappeared. 10,000 times return. I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 340. Enter the heavenly gate. Arrived at the 45th floor. The space here is very narrow, and there is only a small round table in sight. On it is an invitation. Su Xian has seen this style of invitation before. The invitations to the Tower of Delusion and the Tower of Death are almost the same. Looking closely, there are some subtle differences. Is there no gatekeeper? Su Xian looked around and did not notice any danger. It seems that the mystery is on this invitation. He walked over. There was a sickle mark on this invitation. Above the mark, there was an astonishing sense of death. Just a glance, Su Xian felt his mind rolling, bloody and rainy. The final test. He stood there and did not open the invitation immediately. The Supreme Meditation Lotus. Since it is not a physical attack, it is a spiritual test. Without saying anything, Su Xian condensed a few Supreme Meditation Lotuses to protect his sea of consciousness. The defense status of all equipment and weapons was also turned to the strongest. After getting ready, he stretched out his hand. When he touched the invitation, a strong suction force burst out, as if to pull his soul in. Indistinctly, he saw a terrifying existence holding a sickle floating in the chaotic universe. Wherever he passed, death was silent. Under his reflection, the stars in the sky were like toys. Is this the owner of the Death Tower? Su Xian was shocked. This person gave him a stronger feeling than the fox senior on the sky. Just as he stared at the owner of the Death Tower, the latter also looked back at him. It was just a look. Boom. At that moment, Su Xian seemed to be placed in the evil ghost hell, and countless undead roared at him. There were dense palms in the void, trying to drag him into the evil ghost hell. Calm down. Calm down. Su Xian kept running the Tai's Hang Jingzin mantra, and the chaotic aura protected his body to resist the erosion of the meaning of death. Boom. Another layer of hell fell. Then came 2, 3, 4. Finally, 18 layers of hell pressed down. Around Su Xian, there were also continuous meditation lotuses blooming. He looked directly at the eyes full of death, across the vast stars. Time passed bit by bit. The stars around him were extinguished. It seemed that countless centuries had passed. Su Xian's mental consciousness was a little numb, but he always maintained the last bit of clarity. Boom. 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 His heart beat slowly. With the beating of his heart, hell finally broke, and the terrifying existence that looked at Su Xian in the chaotic universe also turned around and left. Buzz. The spirit returned. Su Xian gasped heavily. Looking at the invitation letter in front of him again, there was no longer that terrifying breath, but a gentle force began to nourish his spirit. Did you pass it? Su Xian was still a little scared. This level seemed to have done nothing, but it almost made him sink mentally. The previous levels only made him feel weak, but this level almost made his soul fall into silence. He picked up the invitation and opened it gently. A vague voice sounded in his ears. Brave warrior of the Chaos Universe, congratulations on passing the test of the Tower of Death. Your performance has been recognized by the Will of Death. I sincerely invite you to the gathering place of the strongest warriors in the Chaos Universe, the Tower of Despair, where you will feel the true splendor of life. I will grant eternal life to the brave warriors who climb to the top of the Tower of Despair. Despair is eternity. The voice disappeared. The invitation turned into a spiritual mark. The mark involved a mysterious place deep in the Chaos Universe. But Su Xian's current realm was obviously not qualified to climb that kind of place. He was thoughtful. The vast Chaos Universe is far more than the two life worlds of Lulan Star and Blue Star. The words that the owner of the Tower of Death said just now proved that there are more life worlds besides the two life worlds. Moreover, with the power of the Master of the Death Tower, he is probably one of the strongest in the entire chaotic universe. Otherwise, he would not have been able to place the Death Tower and the Delusion Tower in every life world. Tower of Despair. Su Xian silently remembered the name in his heart. He had heard from the Death Tower spirit that the tower spirits of the two worlds had a common elder brother, and they all admired this elder brother very much. I'm afraid he was talking about the tower spirit of the Tower of Despair. According to the content of the invitation letter, in the vast chaotic universe, there is only one Tower of Despair built in countless life worlds. The difficulty of climbing the Tower of Despair is probably the space inside the tower changes. Su Xian returned to the previous reward space again. Sure enough. The previous improper pass does not count. It's really here again. The Death Tower spirit also appeared in the space and exclaimed loudly. He can actually get 2 rewards. She seriously doubted whether Su Xian had received any special care. Su Xian smiled and looked up. The golden ball of light disappeared, which meant that without the complete inheritance of the gods, he could only choose other things. He looked around. There were many strange things in the ball of light. Su Xian didn't know if many of them were useful. After a little thought, he decided to choose the original spirit ancestor blood. This time, not only did Xiaolai receive the inheritance of the gods, but he also got the blood of the original spirit, which was a huge improvement. Su Xian was also looking forward to what treasures Xiaolai could return to him after accepting the inheritance. At the same time, outside the Tower of Death. Rumble. The strange phenomena of heaven and earth appeared again. The way of heaven roared, and the streamer danced. The several kings stationed in the Twin Towers looked at the location of the Tower of Death and were all shocked. Cleared. Someone else cleared. In just a few days, 2 people broke the record in a row. The war is imminent. God bless my blue star. The several guards looked at each other and saw a hint of surprise in each other's eyes. No, the top kings such as Wan Li King, Wuan King, Guangxi King, Tongui King, and Zhengluo King have all left. Now the only one who is still breaking through the tower is Su Xian. Several people realized it later and couldn't believe it. The person who broke through the 45th floor turned out to be the Thousand Machine King Su Xian. They quickly rushed to the stone tablet of the Tower of Death. The ranking on the stone tablet has changed. There is another line of golden characters at the top. The first place on the clearance list, Dragon Country Kinji King, cleared the 45th level in 2 days, 1 hour, and 21 minutes. Seeing this line of words, several garrison kings were stunned. Especially Li Xingchen. Before Su Xian entered the tower, he said that it would be good to be able to enter the 35th level for the first time, but Su Xian actually cleared it. And in a very short time, he broke the historical record just created by the Great Demon King. For a moment, Li Xingchen regretted it. If he didn't care about his face and followed Su Xian, would it be a different situation?